an experience in itself, let me tell you. But I then was like, right, you know what, I'm just going to go back to my room with my mate. And I just sat there all night and I couldn't get to sleep. I was too hyper, I was too buzzing. The reaction was just incredible. And I had Liam Power had phoned me, or sorry, text me, and was like, oh, I've just had Jason on the phone, he's in tears. And this was the reaction that I was getting from people, was like, yeah, it's a brilliant film, blah, 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 but I was rolling my eyes out at the end. And it was something like, it was never a conversation throughout the entire project in terms of the film that was like, yeah, let's do this in the film because that'll make people cry. But when I saw it on the big screen, you know, the lights doing, all that kind of thing, I felt it as well. And, you know, I'm not spoiling it for people, obviously, but it was that again, I think I've said in these shows before, that's the skill of the editing, you know, that they can, you know, they're feeding you all this information constantly, and then as it gets to near the end, they start to sum it up, and the mood changes, and the music changes, and the tone of the conversation changes, and the words change, and everything changes, and it's like, I saw that magic happen where the editing of that film had people in the palm of his hand, you know what I mean, and was able to put that out. And then by the time the credits came up, there was just this almighty roar went up, and, you know, clapping and cheering and all that kind of thing. It was just unbelievable. So as I say, as I went to my bed, and as I say, I couldn't get to sleep at all. Up all night, I'm dealing with texts, and, you know, it's phenomenal, you know, just could have done it forever, you know, that kind of thing. Up again on the Sunday, and, you know, what can often happen in these things, you know, book launches, that is, you know, you do get adulation and sort of people coming, oh, you're brilliant, that. You can sort of go in a wee downward spiral after that, because suddenly then you've known it's just you and you're in a hotel room, a bit David Brent-like, you know, almost. But then it's like, all right, we need to go and do it again, you know. And however good a day it was for me on Saturday, and it was probably the best day of my life, I can't say any more about that, is that for the people that are coming on the Sunday, they didn't give a toss about what happened on the Saturday. This is their day.
Aye, of course.
So you can't make this like, and now we have the kind of the after show. You know, this is the same thing again. And we obviously had issues with the extent we couldn't get a license for the Sunday for alcohol, so there wasn't going to be a bar. So we had to kind of squeeze it tighter. But what we did on the Saturday, as part of the show, I brought on the European Cup, and that was part. It was a wee.
That was the special guest that you were.
Yes, aye. Well, on the Sunday, I thought, you know what it was, instead of doing that and making it part of the show, let's just have the European Cup there in front of the screen, let everybody get in and get their photos taken with it and whatever. And that worked really well. And then, so on the Sunday, the crowd was obviously slightly less raucous, shall we say, because obviously they weren't, I mean, most people had a drink before they come in, but they weren't drinking throughout it and stuff. So there was a different atmosphere, but they still cheered, they still laughed, they still cried, and there was still standing ovations at either end. And, you know, quite a few people said to me at that point, it's like, you don't know what you've done here, like, this has changed something here, you've changed it, and it was that. We had 50 odd books on sale, the last books we had gone, 5, 10, 15 minutes, the whole lot. Just went like that, queuing up. It was just like, oh my god. Q&A was great. I had a really good laugh with that. Loads of great things going on. And then that night, and as I'd mentioned to you last night, Harper, ended up in the Gin 71 in Renfrew Street. And I'm not anti-gin. I'll take gin, but I'm not a huge gin drinker. But it was kind of like just buzzing. You know, I was just buzzing the whole time. And again, came back on the Sunday, and I just couldn't sleep again. You know, just woke up, eventually just got up at 5 and started dealing with emails and things and whatever, and saying thank you to people and whatever. And one thing I did was that there was people who, and this was important to me personally, was that there was people who had, you know, way back when I was going through all this shit in New York and, you know, in jail, and then coming back here with nothing and that kind of thing. There were 2 or 3 people particularly, who had stood by me throughout that when a lot of people just walked away from me. And I took great sort of delight in contacting them on the Sunday night and just saying thanks, you know, because I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for your support then. And, you know, because I always like to complete circles with that kind of thing. And, Yeah, and it's just been a non-stop. I mean, I had this idea that, there's no shows this weekend because, I'm literally exhausted and there was no way we could have done anything this weekend because it would just be too much. Yeah. And I had this mad idea that what I would do would be have these 2 shows and then just kind of have a really relaxing couple of weeks, go to college and do nothing else really. And it's just been relentless people in touch, non-stop all day. And people all over the tour like saying, Jesus Christ, the tickets are going flying out now and all this kind of thing. And, it can be overwhelming, but at the end of the day, anybody who goes into something that's a bit creative, they want people to see their work and they want people to enjoy it and they want all that, so you can deal with all that kind of stuff. But certainly, from my experience, it was without question the best weekend of my life.
So, there's a number of things that you mentioned that I want to come back to, obviously, but to bring Jason in. So Jason, obviously, you were at the first day, the premiere, right? Now Paul's talking about his sort of emotions leading up to it and that, and the buzz he's got. What was the vibe for you like when you arrived and that, and I mean, 200 people, that's a lot of people coming in to watch a film like and having beers and that, and probably a lot of people meeting each other for the first time. They only know people like for Twitter and if you listen to the show and for the chat room and stuff like that. I mean, Jason, what was your take on the day when you first arrived and etc.?
Well, firstly, let me say, I actually listened to Paul's instructions when he told me to arrive at 2 o'clock. So you can imagine the fright when I got in there and I looked down in the place where you couldn't move. I was like, yeah, a minute here, did I get this wrong? But so we met my brother and Big Tommy and his brother Jerry to America. Yeah. And we met them in a pub in the town and then we made our way up. And a good mate of mine, Choppy, I met him outside. He was going into it as well, so we all kind of walked in together. And then went down the stairs, met Paul, and you couldn't get moving. So as I say, went up to the bar, got a drink. It was a free bar. You're like, bloody hell. So it was...
That's why they were all early.
Aye, exactly. So I had a couple of beers. And then I said to the lassie behind the bar, because I'm with Big Tommy and that, it's like New York. So I says, put a wee cup up there and get some tips, make yourself some money. But she was too embarrassed to do it. Mm-hmm. I says, yeah, make yourself a couple of quid. But no, so had a good blather with Paul, with a good laugh, Richard Swan and stuff like that, a load of guys. Met quite a few guys off Twitter and things. Maxi Boy, I'd never met him before. It was good to put a face to his. I like all the stuff that he puts on Twitter. Mm. And so that was really good. And then we made our way through. So still at this point, I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I was really, really looking forward to it. But as me and you can vouch, Paul hadn't told us a thing about it. We hadn't a clue who the special guest was. We didn't know anything. It's not all fair. Paul's sitting going, I'll do this, I'll be doing that. So, and obviously with the news that had broke the night before with pending arrest to do with a bit of fraud, to do with acquiring a new football club that's related indirectly to the cheating and stuff. So that was all quite interesting. But we sits down and the auditorium was absolutely bunged. It was mobbed, and as Paul said, is that lassie Claire Fowler went up, and she has got the voice of an angel, absolutely brilliant. And Big Tommy said there's a possibility to try to get her out to New York, so they can maybe see what they can do there. And so then it started, and once it started, you could basically hear a pin drop, and everybody was just mesmerised with watching it, because the content that was in it meant so much to everybody that was in the room. And then there was some funny parts in it. There's some interesting parts in it. There was bits where you could get a wee laugh at, and it just captured everybody. And as Paul says, everybody had a drink or a couple of beers, but there was nobody like steaming or whatever. There was a few guys pretty well oiled, but no, it wasn't like 10 at night. Do you know what I mean? The guys all day. So that kind of added to the atmosphere, I think, because people had maybe lost a bit of their inhibitions, and they were quite funny. There was a couple of good bits of patter. But as Paul says, when it got towards the end of it, the mood in the film kind of changed, and the music changed. And me, just as a guy watching it, I don't really notice that. The only thing that you notice is you're starting to cry, and you're like, bloody hell, and it's like fucking biting your lip here, and you're like, it's just things about Celtic that mean that much to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I can always remember going to see the play at the Kings about Johnny Thompson, and at the end they showed a montage of Celtic players who'd passed away, and I was howling like a baby. Absolutely breaking my heart. Do you know what I mean? You're seeing Tommy Burns coming up, Johnny Doyle, and just guys, Big Jock, and it's just like and then Paul's. I won't ruin the film for anybody that's going to see it, but there's certain bits in it that just catches you. Do you know what I mean? And it means, and I took the mic at one bit at the end of the Q&A, and the point I was trying to get across is there is people out there that is obsessed with the zombies and obsessed with the old Rangers club, and just that's all their life's about. Paul's obsessed with Celtic, and Paul's motivational thing for doing this film was because Celtic were cheated. It's got indirectly to do with another team, but it's all about Celtic and how we were denied what we deserved. We were the fans that suffered, so it's all about the love of Celtic, and that's how I could buy into it. Because see, if it was something about the old Rangers team or whatever, I would have no interest in going to see it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because it's Celtic that's suffering, and Paul's standing up there as a Celtic supporter, and obviously he's got some inside snippets because he's sourced Bob and things like that. But we don't labour the point and talk about them. It's we talk about how much we suffered and how much as a support that we went throughout the years. And that's the thing that comes across, and that was just the point I wanted to make at the Q&A, that Paul's doing this without an agenda. Paul's doing this as a Celtic supporter that wants some justice for Celtic supporters. Other people are doing it for their own reasons. Do you know what I mean? And other people, to me, they've got unhealthy obsessions with the new Rangers and the old Rangers. They've got absolutely unhealthy obsessions with them. And I don't buy into that, and I know you don't either, Harper. But for me, for Paul, he's doing it for the right reasons, and that's how I could buy into the full concept. And it blew me away, Paul. And you should be. I always say people shouldn't be proud of things that land in their lap. You should be proud of things you've achieved in life. And by God, mate, you've made some film there, and you made a lot of Celtic fans happy.
Can I ask you, Jason? Then, as you said, right, we had no inclination the content of the film or anything like that. Nothing. Was the film what you expected? And the second part probably that question is, did it maybe change your viewpoint on some of the stuff? Because what I mean by that is, like, there's a lot of Celtic fans, as you say, are kind of obsessed with Sevco and that, right? And then there's fans like Paul who just want to see justice and want to get the story out there because the story needs to be told.
Yeah.
Do you think it? I mean, what way did it slide? Watching it more like did it? I'm not putting this into words how I'm trying to say it. Did it change your view on the cheating side of the thing? Did it make you become more aware of stuff that went on that you maybe didn't really know about? It's probably what I'm trying to say, and maybe made you more. I know there is something needs to be done about this, or do you know what I mean?
Well, by reading Paul's books and things like that, you kind of get the gist for a lot of it was in the film. But there is certain things that come out that once it's laid out in front of you, and you're actually watching it, you're fucking raging. Do you know what I mean? And Joe Miller covered it. He was physically fucking fuming with the mic in the end. Because some people are saying, well, he says, no, I want fucking justice. He says, I mean, at least we should get a refund. Do you know what I mean? Everyone is 10 grand out of pocket, watching a loaded league. But it's things. It does happen. But I think obviously, even if you know something, right? If you know 9/11 happened and things like that, you watch a documentary when they lay something down in front of you. Actually, what happened?
Right.
And the impact it had on people. Fucking hell, it affects you. Do you know what I mean? And that film definitely affected me. But very, very much in a positive, because it's happened. All that's done now. It's all on water under the bridge. It's all happened. So I don't think we'll get any justice or whatever. We're not going to get a refund. We're not going to get anything. But I just felt pleased for Paul, for what Paul had produced, because we all know how much time, effort, and lack of sanity that he's lost out of producing this. You know, what the guys went through in the past year or so is it's been nothing that I would have ever done. You know, and I want to say a wee bit as well. You know, Paul's touched on about people giving him advice and people. I mean, I'm listening to folk giving him advice, and I feel like telling them to fucking shut up. Do you know what I mean? He's actually going out and doing this, and people are actually looking at Paul saying, "So what are you going to do?"